Well, today let's take a look at a semi-ornate, circa 1800s, 19th century halberd. This one is functional, yet must have been meant to impress back in its day. It's a little the worse for wear now, so that's hard to notice, but see the designs on the actual metal. There's etchings that can still be made out, and the cool thing about a blade like this is that it gave the designer kind of a broad canvas to work with. This also gave the designer a chance to play with shapes, and there were a lot of different variations. Here's the point, and you can see it's kind of bent. Now, if that actually resulted from combat, it wouldn't have been from an armored opponent, because this is long after that, but pikes and the like were still issued to troops in this era. It's got these rosette-shaped rivets on the shaft, holding the blade in place, and it takes a little trouble to use those instead of just something simple. Here's the best look I can give you at the actual surface, but notice on the bottom left, you get a good indication of how thick this is. I don't know if this was ever meant for actual use, but it is very functional. It was quite sharp, and you can see that it's strong and sturdy. And this kind of crescent moon axe shape, I guess we'll call it, was not uncommon on halberds, but there was a lot of variation in what the striking head would look like. Halberds were essentially, or most often, axes on long shafts with a thrusting spike, and a hook or thorn on the other side. And here it is, again, sharp, strong. This is basically a mandatory feature on this type of weapon. This is very functional. You can use it to hook an opponent, hook his leg, bring him down if you're standing with him, drag a horseman down. A lot of European polearms and others had this kind of a feature, and it just makes a lot of sense and was very practical. And this one is relatively new, as I mentioned, certainly compared to the weapons, heyday, probably a good 300 to 400 years after that, but they still were being made and issued. It's more for ceremonial duty, guards would be standing around holding them. The Swiss guards at Vatican City still carry them to this day. But something certainly did stress the point of this one here, and we'll never know what happened. I've seen and held a lot of antique weapons, antique blades in my day, and it's pretty unusual to see one with a defect like that. And speaking of, could the force that caused that on the point also be what caused this damage here? You see that? That separation on the bottom could be a further sign of actual action. Then again, maybe it's just a sign of age and poor storage, poor handling. Either way, it's a cool specimen, maybe the more so because of those defects. And there it is. Thanks.